Hello everyone, and welcome back to the Accent Decelerator, the course where you can work towards reducing your accent and sounding more like a native speaker with a neutral accent. I wanted to congratulate you. You've made it halfway through all of our lessons. You're doing an amazing job. Keep with it and your accent will be reduced greatly by the end towards class 10. Today we're going to be focusing on the Y rule. This is very important to know in regards to reducing your accent because it works with pronunciation of specific words. Once you can be more clear and concise with your pronunciation, your accent reduction is going to be amazing. Ready for class? Let's go! The Y rule are words with silent letters or words that end with a consonant or a vowel. It's when the letter Y comes at the beginning of a syllable. However, Y is a lot of the times used as a vowel sound. For example, shy and sky. When the letter Y is placed at the end of a word, it takes the place of a vowel. Sky, fly, it has the I sound. The next one is when Y is placed at the end of a word with two syllables, as in happy, rainy, it makes the E sound. These are all different variations of the Y rule. Based on what word the letter Y is in, your pronunciation is different, and knowing when to pronounce words a certain way is key to reducing your accent. The last example of the Y rule is when Y is placed in the middle of a word, like gym and cycle. It makes an I sound, gym, cycle, I. The different variations of I's can also be put onto the letter Y. Of course, there's exceptions. What about the word beyond? This has the Y sound like y, beyond, y. That's an exception to the rule. This happens when Y is placed after one syllable. Beyond. Anytime you have one syllable and then a letter Y at the start of the next, it will make the y sound. This exception is extremely rare. It doesn't happen all the time, but it is something to take note of. I did want to also reiterate that we do not need to memorize these rules. Just understanding how the different pronunciations of Y can be within different words is essential. You don't need to remember the specifics of the Y rule. Just know that Y makes a different sound based on what word it's in and where it's placed. So now you're going to look at your PDF to the paragraph that we were just talking about. It's the first one on your PDF. You're going to pause the video and read it over first. I want you to pause the video now and then read it over, and then when you play it, I'll read it off. Go ahead and pause. Okay, great. Now I'm going to read the paragraph out loud and you're going to listen. When I'm reading, make sure you pay attention and read along as well on your PDF. I want you to pay attention to words that have the letter Y. Please make note of when I pronounce the letter Y and how it's pronounced differently in various words. I'm going to be looking at my computer as I read this off so I can ensure that I'm saying the same things that you're seeing. Yesterday, in the yellowed meadow, a young and playful Yorkshire Terrier named Yoda wagged his tail with youthful joy. Yearning for companionship, he yelped and yipped, hoping for a yonder friend to join him in his daily adventures. With his yellow-brown fur gleaming under the sun, he bounded through the yard, chasing yellow butterflies with great zeal. His yappy barks filled the air, bringing smiles to the faces of those who heard him. Yearning for treats, he eagerly obeyed commands, displaying his impressive agility and obedience. Yoda's youthful spirit and yonder charm endeared him to all who crossed his path, making him a beloved member of his family and community. Now, go ahead, pause the video again, and read it out loud one more time for yourself. You can go slow and pay attention to those Y sounds because right now we're focusing on the Y rule. Go ahead and pause. Great job. Now we're going to be going over pronunciation of words with silent letters. It's very important that when you pronounce them, you don't say the letters, but when you're spelling the word, you include them. That way, your grammar is still proper. One example is the word right. You don't necessarily need the W. It would still sound the same if it just was R-I-T-E, but instead it's W-R-I-T-E, right. You still have to include the W in the spelling even though you're not saying it aloud. Another one is know. Take a look at the screen. K-N-O-W. Know. This is a word that can be pronounced without the K at the beginning and without the W at the end. Know, N-O as in no, and know as in no are pronounced exactly the same. But when you're spelling the word know, as in I know that, you don't need to pronounce it with the K and the W. You don't say kanow, you say no. Lastly, let me give you the example of island. I-S-L-A-N-D. Take a look at the word on the screen and think for a minute. What letter are we not pronouncing in island? We aren't pronouncing the S. We're not saying Iceland, Iceland, or Easland. You're saying island, island. It sounds like you're saying it I-L-A-N-D, but it's I-S-L-A-N-D. Still a silent letter. You still have to write it down when you're spelling it, but you don't need to pronounce that letter S. Now, let me do something that will help you out a lot. Take a look at your PDF. I've included a chart on here that shows a lot of the common rules for when specific words are going to have silent letters. I'm going to read these off and you can follow along on the PDF just for some examples. As always, don't feel like you need to memorize this, just sit and take the information in and follow along on the PDF. So the final BT, as in debt and doubt, you don't say the B, it's silent. It's just debt and doubt. It's not debit or debit. It's debt and doubt. The next one's the initial GH, as in high, laugh, enough, though, cough. See how that GH sounds different all over? It depends on what word and what syllables or consonants or vowels are coming before it. It's more specific, but these are just some broad examples. We have the initial PS, as in psychology and pseudoscience. Those are silent. The P in psychology and the P in pseudoscience. We have the final GN, as in design, campaign, and align. See how the G is silent? You don't say design or campaign or align. You say design, campaign, align. So when that G is before an N at the end of a word, most of the time it should be silent. We have the initial GN, as in gnawing or gnarled or gnarly. The G is silent as well. We have the initial RH, as in rhyme, rhetoric, and rhapsody. So the H is silent. You don't need to sound out the H, but it is in the spelling. We have the final MB, as in lamb, thumb, and comb. The B is silent at the end. We have the initial KN. This one's very common. Not, now, knee, and knit. We have the initial WH. What, when, where, which, whole, and wheel. With these ones, the H is silent as well. These ones are very common. We have the final MN, as in column and autumn. The N is silent at the end of these. We have the initial PN in pneumonia. The P is silent, similar to psychology and pseudoscience. And we also have the initial WR, as in wrist, wrong, wrinkle, and wrap. The W is silent in these. Please remember that this list is not comprehensive. There are so many more of these in the English language that you need to pay attention to. But these are just some of the most common and the various rules. I want you to just try and remember as you're speaking English and pronouncing different words that things can vary based on where different letters are placed, and certain letters can be silent. And of course, there's one final exception which is special to American English. I recommend that you do this. You don't need to do this. You can pronounce this letter, but it's the letter H at the beginning of some words, as in hour, herb, and honest. H-O-U-R. We don't pronounce it hour, we pronounce hour. With herb, we don't pronounce it herb, we pronounce it herb, H-E-R-B. And honest, we don't pronounce it honest, we pronounce it honest, H-O-N-E-S-T. In other native tongues of English, as in British English or Australian English, they may choose to pronounce this H. We do not in American English. I just wanted to include this for you since I'm an American and I wanted to show you how I speak with my accent. Now, let's practice putting silent letters into work. I want you to pause the video, read out this paragraph out loud that is included on your PDF. It's right below the chart that I gave you. I want you to read it off and just practice saying these words that have specific silent letters. Go ahead and pause. Great work. Now I want you to follow along as I read off this paragraph, and you can see how I pronounce words with silent letters. Ready? In the golden hues of autumn, as the sun sets and paints the sky, doubt may linger like a wrong taken turn. Yet, let laughter fill the air, for in the passage of an hour, doubts can fade away. Embrace the whole essence of life's rhythm, combing through its challenges with a thoughtful design. As you can see, there's specific letters that are placed in parentheses within the paragraph that I showed you. Those are the silent letters. Those are the ones that you need to pay attention to. Feel free to pause this video, rewind, and go over any section that you found confusing or you just want to review again. It's no problem at all, and I would honestly recommend you do that. But the lesson's over for today. That goes over the Y rule and silent letters in English. By focusing on these two things combined with rhythm and stress, how specific letters are pronounced in a sentence, phrase, or word, and all of the other things that we learned, your accent is going to be reduced greatly. Thank you for joining us. You're halfway through this course on reducing your accent, and you should be so proud. Have a great day, and I'll see you in lesson 6.